event, but he's not new to the literary world. Our next speaker is Tim LaRocco, excuse me. And Tim is from New York. And I've known Tim for a few years, and as I said, he's not a new-time writer because I've been reading his blogs for a while, as well as some other work that he's done. And I must tell you, I enjoy getting your responses to some of my political commentary because it's always thoughtful, engaging, and controversial. And so I applaud you for your writing, but tonight it's not going to be politics. Tonight, I believe you're reading from your novella. And so let's give Tim a warm welcome because I'm really looking forward to hear some of this new work that you're currently working on. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you all. This is fantastic. I'm really happy that everybody is here. We have a venue now for this type of literary meeting once a month in Phnom Penh. It's great. A little background. I think I have a little extra time for some background because we have some extra time. Robert said I'm writing a novella. I first came to Cambodia about 5 years ago, and I was a journalist, a freelance journalist, before I got into teaching, which is what I'm doing now. I'm a history teacher. And I wanted to write something about my experiences, and the main character of this book, Alex Speransky is his name. Speransky after my favorite political theorist, Mikhail Speransky, and his first name, Alex, after the Tsar that he advised. Kind of represents me progressing through my life in Cambodia and in Phnom Penh, and sort of a down-and-out journalist who wants to leave but can't leave, is stuck. And the book is preliminarily titled Midnight in Cambodia. And I should be finished with it sometime at the end of this year. And it's about race. It's about racial relations in Cambodia. It stars Alex as an American journalist and a Vietnamese man and a Cambodian woman. And their three stories intersect, and they have an interesting interaction. So this is a passage from the third chapter. And Alex is just leaving his office as a foreign affairs journalist in Cambodia for a magazine called the ASEAN Star Review. Okay, so the chapter begins, it's 10:29 a.m. Alex Speransky, foreign affairs journalist, neo-realist, reformed hopeless romantic, now just hopeless, collected his bicycle from the ASEAN Star Review parking area and unsuccessfully tried to sneak off before the Cambodian security guard stopped him and began vehemently remonstrating about the unofficial 500 real parking fee. It was barely 12 cents according to the exchange rate, but Alex had in recent times begun making a stand against such nickel and dime tactics. He reluctantly withdrew his wallet and discovered his smallest bill was a 1,000 real note. He handed it over to the guard, expecting change. The guard, interpreting it as a bonus for a job well done, merrily skipped away with a smile on his face like a fisherman who had just caught a 20-pounder. Cocksucker, Alex whispered under his breath. He told acquaintances he rode a bicycle because of his concern for the environment, but while that was partially accurate, the main reason was because Alex was too frightened to ride a motorbike in the urban jungle of Cambodia's capital. To that point, he was nearly knocked on the ground just after laboriously setting off from the office by a teenage girl driving a pink Scooby with 3 passengers slotted behind her as she flew by on the wrong side of the road. The sidewalks of Phnom Penh were de facto parking lots, and pedestrians exacerbated the traffic by walking in the middle of the roads. As he dodged the tourist standing in the middle of the street with a handhill map of the city spread open, he had to apply full pressure to his brakes to avoid rear-ending a man hauling a lorry full of coconuts who was proceeding down the thoroughfare at a walking pace. The French had called Phnom Penh the Pearl of Asia in the 1920s, and there seemed to be no limit to the city's potential when Cambodia took control of its own affairs after gaining independence from France in 1953. But after the monarchy was deposed in a military coup in 1970, things started to get tense, especially considering the United States began dropping tons of ordnance in the surrounding provinces in a spillover of the war in Vietnam raging just next door. The American bombardment paved the way for a group of ragtag ultra-Maoists to emerge from the Cambodian hinterland as victors in a conflict against the military dictatorship. The Khmer Rouge, under the leadership of Pol Pot, set about eradicating any vestige of Cambodian culture in the pursuit of creating a so-called utopia based on agrarian principles. On April 17, 1975, the communist guerrillas entered the capital city and forcibly deported the entire population of the city out into the countryside. By the time the regime fell from power nearly 4 years later, an estimated 2 million Cambodians lay dead from starvation, disease, and torture. The Vietnamese subsequently occupied the country for the next decade. There was also wide-scale racism directed at the local Vietnamese community, not just because of the occupation of Cambodia after the genocide, but because of the long-standing hatred that had accumulated over centuries. These noteworthy issues were the last thing on Alex's mind, however, as he raced east along Sihanouk Boulevard, named after the King Father of Cambodia himself. He eventually hooked a left onto Sisawak Quay, the Riverside Road, and slowed down a bit to take in his surroundings. To his left, he passed the Royal Palace, a grand complex of buildings where the current monarch officially resided. The apex of the Silver Pagoda could be observed in the background on the south side, as well as the impressive throne hall, but Alex's attention was drawn to an armless beggar in a wheelchair yelling epithets at passing tourists. Below the bright golden tier roofs of the most well-known building in the complex, the Moonlight Pavilion, was a tremendous portrait of the Queen Mother, which was obstructed by dozens of pigeons descending on a small girl throwing kernels of corn on the road under the watchful eye of her father. To his right, the ecru brown water of the Tonle Sap River was flowing southeast toward the majestic Mekong. In a few weeks, it would reverse direction and flow northwest towards the lake of the same name. Alex peered down toward the riverbank and saw two Cham fishermen standing in ankle-deep water manipulating a net. Rubbish was strewn about in every direction. The heat was beyond oppressive. His royal blue Pierre Cardin French cuff shirt was drenched thoroughly, and the temperature was pushing 38 degrees Celsius for the sixth straight day. Alex could think of nothing better at the moment than an ice-cold Angkor draft in the air-conditioned confines of one of the less salubrious establishments of Street 136, an area well known for its debaucherous prolificacy. He parked his bicycle in front of one such place, with the felicitous name of Short Time Enjoy Bar. Two girls in their early 20s were asleep on the sofa outside the bar. A dark-skinned security guard watched with a disapproving expression on his face as the American dismounted his bicycle and removed his shades. Lee-ha, lee-ha! The mating call of a lady selling duck eggs and seashells passed by, narrowly missing his feet. Alex was met with a half-hearted hello from the miserable-looking cashier in the bar. He nodded in sheepish recognition towards two drunkards seating at the far end of the bar who were pounding draft beer. To the left was Sam, a bellicose brute from Northern Ireland with a shock of hair as red as the sun and a beard to match. He looked the part of an overweight Vincent van Gogh if he squinted hard enough, and Alex surmised was probably just as crazy. Alex had known the Irishman for about 4 years, although strangely didn't even know his last name. Sam would only stop drinking for the evening when his blood alcohol content was roughly on par with Ernest Hemingway's at the time of the great author's suicide. A petite Vietnamese hostess girl was poached on his lap and giggled for reasons unknown. Alex, Sam exclaimed with inebriated euphoria and a distinctive Belfast accent. Are you having a laugh at what, mate? Riding a fucking cycle in this weather he is, love. A fucking Einstein, love. Hey, Leo, get a load of Alex now, like you just took a dip in the fucking river. Why don't you sack up and get yourself a fucking motor, you dumb yank? Hey, here he is, Leo chimed in. The Pulitzer Prize winner himself. Sweetheart, give him an anchor draft on my tab, he added with phosphorus emphasis, his typical parsimony replaced with the munificence of a man who always knew when happy hour was. Leo Gerstenblatt was around the same age as Alex, but grew up on the west coast of the U.S. in a suburb of San Francisco. A reformed Jew with tweaks for arms and legs, his original name was Simon, and no one knew quite why it had been changed to Leo, least of all Leo himself. His shaved beard belied his natural curls, and his black-rimmed Kennedy reading glasses gave him a managerial aura. His passion was lecturing others on the values of modern liberalism in the didactic fashion of a tenured professor, and he had the respect of the Phnom Penh expat community, simply for maintaining a degree of articulation and clarity in moments of extreme intoxication when other parties to the debate devolved into guttural utterances and obscenities. Alex saw right through him, though. However, while Leo was a staunch supporter of LGBTQ rights, he frequently made snide comments ridiculing transgendered hostess girls when they would appear in one of the bars. And while Leo would also frequently exalt the virtues of feminism, he would simultaneously pay for sex at least twice a week. He had recently turned to posting memes from far-left websites like Occupy Democrats on Alex's Facebook page, and the New Yorker had reached his wits' end in dealing with it. That's all I have for this chat.